The night was too quiet for a space station that never truly slept. Ethan Cole noticed it while fixing a power panel near his door. No voices in the hallway, no rolling carts, no distant laughter from off-shift crews. Even the station vents seemed to breathe more slowly, like the metal walls were holding their breath. Ethan was a human engineer on Outpost Helios 9, a shared colony between humans and 5 alien species. He was known as someone who stayed calm when others panicked. That was why he felt uneasy now. Calm was normal. This silence was not. A soft red light blinked above his door. Then his wrist communicator buzzed. "Ethan Cole," the station control voice said. It was tight and rushed. "This is not a drill. You must lock your door immediately." Ethan straightened. "What's going on?" There was a pause, a long one. "They warned us you would ask," the station control voice replied. "The Kairathi vessel docked early. The sister is on board." Ethan frowned. "The sister?" Another pause, heavier this time. "She has entered heat." That word hit the air like a dropped tool. Ethan had heard it before, always whispered, always followed by fear. Kairathi heat was not like human illness or emotion. It was a biological survival phase, dangerous, unstable. "What am I supposed to do?" Ethan asked. "Nothing," Control said quickly. "That is the point. Do nothing. Lock your door, turn off lights, do not respond to knocks, do not be a hero." The channel cut. Ethan stood still, listening. Somewhere far down the station, a metal door slammed shut, then another. One by one, the station sealed itself. Across Helios 9, aliens hid behind reinforced walls. The Jalori dimmed their glow. The Vraks sealed their mind shields. Even humans followed the alert, fear moving faster than logic. Ethan did not move. He walked to the small window in his door and looked into the hall. Emergency lights painted everything red. Warning symbols scrolled across the walls in alien languages. Kairathi heat. During heat, a Kairathi body released powerful waves, chemical, mental, and energetic. Not on purpose, not by choice. Anyone too close could suffer fear, confusion, or worse. Some species never survived exposure. That was why Kairathi were isolated during this phase. That was why the sister was alone. Ethan remembered the briefing months ago. The Kairathi were proud and private. Family meant everything to them. To be separated during heat was considered cruel, but necessary. Still, something about the warning felt wrong. Ethan locked his door halfway, then stopped. His hand rested on the panel. "Do not be a hero," the voice had said. He wasn't trying to be one. He simply remembered how humans survived Earth, storms, wars, long nights where help did not come. Humans learned to endure when they had no other choice. His communicator buzzed again. A text message this time. "All personnel, stay in place. The Kairathi sister is moving through the lower ring. Do not engage." Ethan's room was on the lower ring. A distant sound echoed through the station, soft, uneven. Footsteps, slow, careful, not hunting steps, lost steps. Ethan's chest tightened. He imagined the sister alone in unfamiliar halls, her body betraying her, her mind drowning in signals she could not control. Everyone feared her, yet no one asked if she was afraid. Another sound, a faint scrape against the wall outside his door. Ethan stepped closer. Logic told him to seal the door and sit on his bed until morning. That was the rule. That was safety. But humanity had never grown by following rules that ignored suffering. The lights flickered. Somewhere an alarm chirped and died. Ethan unlocked the door completely. He sat on the floor, back against the wall, facing the door. He stayed still. He stayed awake. If you're enjoying this slow-burn sci-fi story so far, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. More HFY stories like this are coming, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Outside, the footsteps stopped. A shadow fell across the small window. Ethan did not move. A quiet knock followed, not loud, not demanding, just a knock filled with hesitation. On the other side of the door stood something the entire station feared, and inside, a human waited, wondering if tonight would change how the galaxy understood both of them forever. The knock came again. Ethan did not open the door, not yet. He stayed seated on the floor, breathing slowly, counting each breath the way he learned during long repair shifts in vacuum suits. Outside, the station felt different now. The air itself seemed heavy, like an invisible storm had entered the halls. On the other side of the wall, the Kairathi sister stood still. Her name was Sarah. Ethan did not know that yet, but the station database did. Her file had been locked under emergency protocol. Only fragments of information leaked through the old training memories in Ethan's mind. The Kairathi were not violent by nature. They were thinkers, builders, and deep feelers. Their minds ran wider than most species. That was their strength, and during heat, their curse. Heat was not desire. Heat was survival. Once every few cycles, a Kairathi body entered a phase where energy overflowed. Their nervous system flooded with signals meant to ensure the species lived on. If guided by their own kind, the phase passed safely. If not, the energy turned outward. That energy could bend thoughts. It could crush weaker minds. It could tear through machines not built to handle it. Sarah leaned against the wall, her claws trembling. The metal beneath her hand hummed, reacting to her presence. She felt every fear signal in the station, every locked door, every mind pulling away from her. Isolation made heat worse. She had been warned. If you are alone, the elders had said, hide. Do not seek comfort. It will harm others. Her breath shook. Inside the room, Ethan's communicator flickered to life without his touch. Static washed across the screen, then text appeared. Kairathi heat phase, summary, restricted. Neurological pressure spikes, emotional amplification, uncontrolled energy release. Isolation recommended. Below it, another line flashed. Human exposure, unknown. Ethan swallowed. Unknown meant dangerous. Unknown meant no one had tested it, because no one thought it was worth the risk. The station lights dimmed further. Emergency power rerouted. Somewhere nearby, glass cracked with a sharp pop. Ethan pressed his palms against the floor. He could feel a faint vibration now, like a distant engine. It wasn't sound, it was pressure, a low push against his thoughts, like standing too close to heavy machinery. His head ached, not pain, pressure. He closed his eyes and focused. Human minds were messy places. Years of noise, stress, fear, joy, and pain had shaped them. They were not smooth like the Kairathi. They were rough, layered, hard to overwhelm all at once. Ethan felt that truth now. The pressure grew stronger, then wavered. On the other side of the door, Sarah slid down the wall and sat on the floor. Her arms wrapped around herself, trying to shrink, trying to make the storm inside her smaller. Her heat was rising fast, too fast. She had been separated from her family during a docking error. The station was never meant to host her in this state. Protocols failed, timing failed,
and now fear filled every corridor. Sarah lifted her head and listened. One mind nearby was not pulling away. It was steady. That confused her. Most minds screamed during heat. Some went silent. This one stayed present, heavy, grounded, like a deep anchor buried in stone. She did not knock again.
She whispered instead, her voice barely more than breath. "I will leave." The words slipped through the door, soft and broken. Ethan's eyes snapped open. He stood slowly, heart pounding. He stepped closer to the door, close enough to rest his forehead against the cold metal. "You don't have to," he said quietly. The pressure spiked. Ethan gasped, knees bending as a wave rolled through his thoughts. Images that were not his own brushed his mind. Stars, heat, fear, loneliness so sharp it burned. He stayed standing. Outside, Saira froze. No one had ever answered her during heat. "Human," she said, voice shaking, "you should not speak to me." "I know," Ethan replied. "They told me to lock the door." "Then do it," she pleaded, "before I hurt you." Ethan exhaled slowly. His hands trembled, but he did not step back. "You're not hurting me," he said quietly. "You're just loud." The words made no sense to Saira, and yet she felt it. Her energy waves bent around him, slowed by something strange, resistance, not rejection, endurance. Inside station control room, alarms flared. "Her output just dropped," an officer said sharply. "That's not possible." "Track the source," another ordered. The system highlighted Ethan's room. A stunned silence followed. "That's a human sector," someone whispered. Back at the door, Ethan reached for the control panel. His finger hovered over the unlock command. Saira felt it. Fear surged. "Please," she said, "do not open it. If you see me like this." The lock disengaged with a soft click. Ethan pulled the door open, and for the first time since the heat began, Saira was no longer alone. The door slid open with a quiet hiss. For half a second, nothing happened. Then the pressure hit. Ethan's vision blurred as a heavy wave rolled through his mind. His thoughts slowed like moving through deep water. His instincts screamed at him to close the door, to run, to protect himself. He did none of those things. Standing in the hallway was the Kairathi sister. Saira was taller than Ethan expected, her frame slender but tense, like a cable pulled too tight. Her skin shimmered with faint lines of light that pulsed unevenly, betraying the chaos inside her body. Her eyes, large, dark, and filled with panic, locked onto Ethan's face. She did not attack. She staggered. Saira took one step forward, then her legs gave out, her claws scraping against the metal floor as she struggled to stay upright. "I warned you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I told you not to open it." Ethan exhaled slowly. His hands trembled, but he did not step back. "You're not hurting me," he said through clenched teeth. "You're just loud." The words made no sense to Saira, and yet she felt it. Her energy waves bent around him, slowed by something strange, resistance, not rejection, endurance. Inside station control room, alarms flared. "Her output just stabilizing," a voice said sharply. "That's not possible." Another replied, "That's impossible. Nothing stabilizes Kairathi heat without a bond group." "Then explain the readings," the first snapped. They all stared at the display. One human life sign, one Kairathi, locked together. Back in the hallway, Ethan reached for the control panel. His finger hovered over the unlock command. Saira felt it. Fear surged. "Please," she said, "do not open it. If you see me like this." The lock disengaged with a soft click. Ethan pulled the door open, and for the first time since the heat began, Saira was no longer alone. Containment breach detected. Biological hazard escalation. Human life sign in proximity to Kairathi heat source. Inside the control room, fear ruled every decision. "A human is inside the radius.
one officer said, fingers flying across the console. "Direct exposure. He should already be unconscious or dead." "He isn't," another replied. "The Karathi output has stabilized around him." "That makes it worse," the station commander snapped. "If the human fails, the release could double. We cannot risk the entire outpost." Silence followed. Then the order came, heavy and final. "Prepare a forced isolation field. Seal that section completely." Someone hesitated. "Sir, that will trap the human inside." The commander's jaw tightened. "This station holds 10,000 lives. I will not lose them for one." Inside Ethan's room, the air felt thick, like breathing through fog. Ethan's eyes fluttered open. Pain pulsed behind his temples, deep and steady. His body felt heavy, drained, like he had run for days without rest. Sarah was still pressed against him, her weight warm, trembling less than before. That scared him. Stability meant the heat was focusing, and focused heat was far more dangerous. Sarah lifted her head slowly. Her glowing skin dimmed, then flared again like a heartbeat made of light. "You should be unconscious," she said softly. "Your mind should be breaking." Ethan forced a tired smile. "Bad news for science, I guess." She studied him with wide, searching eyes. Karathi's senses reached deep, feeling the edges of his thoughts. Where others fractured, his mind bent, absorbing, redistributing, refusing to snap. "You are dense," she murmured, confused. "Been called worse," Ethan replied. The stabilizer unit on the floor began to whine, its power cells overheating. Sparks jumped from its casing. Ethan noticed too late. Sarah," he said, "I think my little helper is about to give up." Before she could respond, the device failed with a sharp crack. The hum vanished. The pressure slammed back instantly. Ethan cried out, his body arching as raw Karathi heat surged through him. His vision exploded with alien sensation, burning light, collapsing stars, the crushing terror of losing oneself. Sarah screamed. "No!" She grabbed his shoulders, panic flooding her voice. "Do not let go. Anchor yourself. Do not drift." Her hands burned where they touched him, not with heat, but with intensity. The energy between them twisted, unstable. Outside the room, the station acted. A deep vibration shook the walls as containment fields activated. Thick bands of blue energy sealed the entire corridor. Power rerouted aggressively, draining nearby systems. Inside, the lights went out. Emergency glow barely lit the room. Ethan gasped for breath, teeth chattering. Every instinct begged him to push Sarah away, to escape the pressure crushing his mind. He didn't. Instead, he did something no one expected. He leaned into it. Humans had evolved on a violent world. Storms, quakes, endless noise. Their minds learned not just to resist stress, but to function inside it. Ethan focused on the simplest things, his breath, the feel of the floor, the steady weight against him. "I'm still here," he whispered. Sarah felt it, felt the chaos inside her collide with something unyielding. Her heat, wild and desperate, slammed again and again into Ethan's mind and slowly began to change shape. Not weaker, controlled, guided. She stared at him in horror and awe. "You are containing me," she breathed. "This is impossible." Ethan's laugh came out broken. "Yeah, well, I do impossible things before breakfast." Inside the control room, sensors spiked violently. "Heat levels rising," someone shouted. "Wait, no," another corrected. "They're narrowing, focused into a single channel." "All into the human?" the commander demanded. "Yes." The room fell silent. "That much load should kill him," someone whispered.
Back inside the sealed room, Ethan's strength finally gave. His grip slackened. Sarah felt it instantly. "No," she said urgently, pulling him closer, pressing her forehead to his. "If you fall, I will lose control. They will kill us both." Her voice cracked, not with rage, but fear. Ethan forced his eyes open. "Hey," he murmured weakly, "I didn't open that door to quit halfway." He reached up, resting a trembling hand against her arm. "Whatever this is, we finish it together." For the first time in Karathi history, heat did not isolate, it bonded. Outside, the station trembled under the strain. Inside, a single human mind stood between survival and catastrophe, and the galaxy, though it did not yet know it, was seconds away from learning a terrifying truth. Human minds were never meant to break, they were meant to hold. Ethan should have been unconscious. By every known medical rule in the station database, his brain should have shut down minutes ago. Karathi heat at this level had crushed trained diplomats, shattered shielded minds, and left entire crews screaming. Yet Ethan Cole was still breathing, still holding. Inside the darkened room, time felt stretched and thin. The emergency glow painted Sarah's form in soft blue light, her skin no longer flaring wildly, but pulsing in slow, heavy waves. Each pulse sent pressure through the air, through Ethan's skull, through every nerve in his body. He tasted metal. His hands shook violently, but his eyes stayed open. Sarah could feel his mind now more clearly than ever, not because it was weak, but because it was loud in a different way. Human thoughts did not flow smoothly. They collided, overlapped, fought each other, yet somehow stayed whole. Pain existed there, fear lived there, but so did stubborn will. "You should not be able to do this," Sarah whispered, her voice full of awe and terror. "Yeah, well, I do impossible things before breakfast." Another wave hit, stronger than before. Ethan screamed, not in fear, in defiance. He dug his heels into the floor, muscles locking, spine pressed hard against the wall. His vision fractured into flashes of memory, earth storms tearing apart coastlines, cities rebuilding after fire, humans standing back up when everything said they should stay down. The heat slammed into those memories and broke against them. Sarah felt it happen. For the first time since heat began, the pressure inside her did not demand release. It settled, coiled inward, focused. Her breathing slowed, shock rippling through her system. "You are changing it," she said, her voice trembling. "You are reshaping the flow." Ethan laughed weakly. "Yeah, well, I'm good at absorbing bad situations." Outside the sealed corridor, panic reached its peak. "The station can't hold much longer," an engineer shouted. "And the human?" the commander asked. A pause. "He's still alive." That answer silenced the room. "That's not possible," someone muttered. Sensors flared again. Heat levels dropped, suddenly, sharply. "What?" the commander snapped. "Repeat that." "The Karathi output is decreasing, not collapsing, not exploding, decreasing." "How?" All eyes turned to the same reading. Human neural activity, extreme, status, stable. Inside the room, Sarah cried out softly as the crushing pressure inside her chest finally loosened. She gasped, claws digging into Ethan's shoulders, not in panic, but relief. "It's passing," she whispered. "The peak is ending." Ethan sagged, breath coming in broken pulls. His head fell forward, resting against her shoulder. "Told you, we'd finish it." Sarah wrapped her arms around him without thinking, holding him upright as the last violent surge faded into dull echoes. Her heat did not vanish, but it no longer threatened to tear her apart. For the first time, she felt balanced, connected. Minutes passed in silence, broken only by the hum of emergency power returning. Lights flickered back to life, systems rebooted one by one. Inside the control room, stunned officers watched the readings stabilize completely. "She's through the worst of it," the medical chief said in disbelief. "And the human, he's alive, exhausted but alive." The commander sank into his chair. What have we done?" he whispered. In Ethan's room, Sarah gently lowered him to the floor, supporting his head with care bordering on reverence. She studied his face.
Footsteps echoed outside the door. Voices followed, cautious, afraid, uncertain. The door opened slowly. Station security stood frozen at the threshold, weapons half raised, unsure of what they were seeing. A Kirathi sister, calm and stable. A human, alive in her arms. Syra looked up, eyes burning with a new emotion, something fierce and unbreakable. "This human," she said clearly, her voice carrying authority that shook the room, "is under my protection." No one argued, because for the first time in recorded history, a Kirathi had survived heat not through isolation, but through a human mind that refused to break. And somewhere beyond Helios 9, unseen but inevitable, the galaxy was about to learn a dangerous truth. Humans were not fragile. They were anchors. Silence followed Syra's words. Not the fearful silence from before, but a heavy, stunned quiet that filled the room and spilled into the corridor beyond. Station security lowered their weapons slowly, eyes fixed on Ethan's unmoving form. "He's alive," one of them whispered, disbelief thick in his voice. Medical teams rushed in moments later, scanners flashing across Ethan's body. Every reading told the same impossible story: extreme neural stress, total physical exhaustion, and a mind still intact. They carried Ethan to the infirmary. Syra walked beside him. No one tried to stop her. In the medical bay, doctors worked in tense focus. Cooling packs were placed along Ethan's spine. Neural dampeners hummed softly. A human physician shook her head again and again as she read the results. "She absorbed pressure that would have killed 10 trained psionics," she said. "There's damage, yes, but nothing permanent." Syra listened quietly. For Kirathi, heat was shame, a weakness hidden away, endured in silence so others would not suffer. She had expected exile, fear, maybe death. Instead, she had found endurance. Hours later, Ethan opened his eyes. The room was dim. Machines beeped softly. His body felt like it had been crushed and rebuilt badly. "Man, next time someone knocks, I'm pretending I'm not home." A soft sound escaped Syra, a Kirathi sound of relief and gratitude. She leaned forward. "You are awake," she said. "Hard to sleep with a galaxy staring at me," Ethan replied, forcing a weak smile. Her expression shifted, serious now. "What you did will not be forgotten." "I just didn't lock a door." "That is never just a small thing," she said. Word spread fast. Within days, Kirathi elders arrived aboard massive silver vessels. They walked the halls of Helios 9 in silence, their presence heavy with authority. When they reached Ethan's room, they did not speak at first. They bowed. Every officer, every alien, every human watched as a species known for pride bent in respect. "We stood where none of our kind could. You bore what we hide. You changed what we believed was unchangeable." Ethan shifted awkwardly in his bed. You're welcome." The elder's gaze sharpened. "From this day forward, Kirathi will never face heat alone again." The declaration shook the station. News crossed systems at impossible speed. humans resistant to neural collapse, humans capable of grounding alien biological storms, humans anchors in the most dangerous moments. Other species paid attention. Requests followed. Joint research, cooperative survival programs, not demands, but careful, respectful questions. For the first time, humans were not asked to step aside when things became dangerous. They were asked to stay. Ethan refused promotions, refused medals. When asked why, he simply said, "Someone had to keep the door open." Weeks later, Helios 9 returned to normal, mostly. Late one cycle, Ethan sat in his room, tools spread across the floor, fixing the same power panel he had worked on the night everything changed. The station lights dimmed briefly. His communicator buzzed. Incoming alert. Unscheduled arrival. Another species. Biological crisis possible. A pause. Then another message. Unknown neural stress. Ethan stared at the screen. He sighed, stood up, and glanced at his door. Outside, footsteps echoed, slow, unsure, afraid. Someone hesitated on the other side. Ethan smiled faintly and reached for the lock, because that was the thing the galaxy finally understood. Humans were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced. But when fear closed every door, a human would open one and stay.